Hello and welcome to another Paratus video. I'm Gideon and I'm here in the beautiful outside, in between cold fronts, and the sun is out, shining in my eyes. That's why I've got the sunglasses on. Topic of today's video. One that really irritates and grates me, and I'm sure irritates and grates a great number of people who already know what's going on, but in case you haven't, these are undying, stubborn myths about guns, gun ownership, and self-defense that just don't want to go away. And number one, the most rancid, smelly, horrible one of them all, is a myth and the lie that you are 4 times as likely to have your gun used against you as you are to successfully use it in self-defense. So a couple of years ago, we dug right to the bottom of the story ourselves and got in contact with the man from which it allegedly originates, which is Anthony Altbecker. He did not come up with this, by the way. This is a myth and a lie made up and propagated by Gun Free South Africa. They got in touch with Anthony Altbecker a couple of years ago. He's a well-known researcher and author, and he wrote the book A Country at War with Itself. They got in touch with him and they commissioned him to do some research for them, which ultimately didn't quite go their way. In fact, when Richard Best did the debunking of this, when this website was still known as Gun Servant, Anthony just sent him the research to read himself, as opposed to, getting involved in a protracted debate. And ultimately, summary, his research militates against drawing any conclusions that you are more likely to have your firearm used against you than you are to successfully use it in self-defense. Plain English language, it's bunk, it's nonsense, there's no such thing. He never concluded such thing, and Gun Free South Africa just made it up. So Richard Best was the first to debunk that a couple of years ago. And then Africa Check came on to that scene last year with their own debunking, both of which I've linked in the description, so you can go read those articles for yourself. But all that you need to know is no, there's no such thing. You are definitely more likely to successfully use your gun in self-defense than you are likely to have it used against you. And if you think about this rationally, it actually makes complete sense. There are so many successful defensive gun uses just in South Africa every single year. And I mean, these are just the ones that make it into the media. There are a whole bunch that don't, and an even greater number that don't even involve shots being fired. Because, you know what, strangely enough, a defensive gun use doesn't necessarily mean someone gets shot. Sometimes if you just present the gun at your aggressor and they decide to not attack and run away, that's a successful defensive gun use, folks. Doesn't even involve shots. Also, think about this a little bit more. If guns are so, statistically undesirable to carry as a defensive weapon, why do cops carry them? Also, why do criminals carry them and use them in the perpetration of crimes? If they are more likely to be used against them, surely criminals are better off not using guns for robberies and murders and rapes then. Well, okay, the vast majority of them still use knives and sharp objects, but that kind of goes against the point what I'm trying to make here. Ultimately, this lie, even if you just spend 5 minutes thinking about it, already doesn't make any sense at all, and we can move on swiftly from there. Second myth about self-defense, if you don't fire a warning shot, you're going to be in trouble. Now, warning shots, do they have merits? Do they not? I don't really like them. Other people disagree with me. Articles are linked in the description about my viewpoint, but there are, contrary viewpoints on this issue where people say, warning shots do actually have their place. I don't like them for several reasons. One, you are always ultimately accountable for where the bullet comes to rest. Also, you can't discharge a firearm in a built-up area unless you have good reason to do so. A good reason for doing so is if you're under attack and you need to stop the attack by shooting the guy who's trying to kill you. Now, discharging the firearm into your grass or into the air is, for one, terrible idea. Don't. Okay, so to fire an effective warning shot, you need to identify a safe direction, point the gun in that direction, and then fire, and hope there's no ricochet that then causes damage or injury or death to an innocent party, because you'll be responsible for what happens if that is the result, and you'll be held accountable for it. Also, it's to me also a question of time. Violent encounters are sometimes very sudden, very dynamic, and very in your face. Are you really going to have the time to shoot or fire off a warning shot responsibly under duress, as opposed to, stopping the guy who's attacking you? Ultimately, you're also going to be giving away the fact that you are armed and ready to use it. I mean, if you're already pointing a gun at an attacker or have presented it, you've already telegraphed the fact that you're armed and willing to defend yourself. Firing a shot is not really underlining that all that much, although some people are probably going to disagree with me on that. Either way, our law does not require you to fire a warning shot before you are allowed to defend yourself. That's actually what I'm trying to cut to right here. Warning shots are not a prerequisite. The court is not going to say to you, but Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so, why did you not fire a warning shot before defending yourself against the guy who's trying to plunge a blade all the way into your aorta right now and is busy breathing in your face? That's never happened as far as I'm aware, and no one's ever been convicted of anything because they did not fire a warning shot. And in fact, like I said, they might be more harm than good, but that's a debate for another day. Third myth, Undying one. If you shoot an unarmed attacker, you are going to go straight to jail. Well, that's illegal. There's some nuance to this. If a really big guy is busy, or in some cases not even a big guy, if they're busy trying to unscrew your head from your neck by your ears, they are going to be, people are quite capable of killing you and presenting a lethal threat with their bare hands. This ties into another myth, but we're going to get to that shortly. You are under no obligation to take that punishment just because they're not armed. If somebody is trying to kill you, they are trying to kill you. The only prerequisite for justifying the use of lethal force in private defense is the fact that you must be under imminent or present attack, an unlawful attack, and you must believe this attack firmly to be life-threatening. So if someone is busy choking the life out of you right now and you've got no way of fighting back, and the only way you can fight back is to shoot them, then you're either going to shoot them and live or not shoot them and quite likely die. And this has happened before in numerous cases, and we always like to use extreme examples. Well, not really extreme examples, but how should we say more politically correct examples, in the sense of if you're a woman that weighs about 45 kilograms and you're 1.5 to 1.6 meters tall, and you are being attacked by a 95 kilogram, 1.85 meter tall man who's unarmed, he is obviously capable of raping you, of killing you, of doing horrible things to you that are life-threatening. Of course you can shoot him. The same goes for somebody else who is being overpowered or murdered at that stage. Like I said, this is a discussion with some nuance, but there's no cut and dry rule that says just because the person's unarmed, they're not a lethal threat. And I think that is the point I'm trying to get to you. There is no hard or fast rule. That's not how the law works. If you are a big 95 kilogram man you ended up shooting a 45 kilogram woman that's attacking you and she's unarmed, you're going to have a lot more fucking explaining to do, pardon the language. But ultimately, every single case of private defense is taken on its individual merits. And that is important to bear in mind. There's no one size fits all. There's no model. There's no cookie cutter solution to this problem. Next myth, that you will go to jail if you shoot someone in self-defense, or you can't shoot someone in self-defense. Now, if this was true, then why did we give people licenses for self-defense? What's the point of the gun? To just be a magic talisman? No, that's not how these things work. You will not be sent to prison for defending yourself. There are cases where people have been convicted of murder or culpable homicide or defeating the ends of justice. But if you go and look into a lot of these cases, that is not the run-of-the-mill self-defense or private defense case. There are other things behind the scenes here that have resulted in that happening. And in some cases, yes, there are malicious prosecutions and incompetence from magistrates and judges. And if they're taken on appeal, in many cases, the entire thing is reversed completely. I know that doesn't fill a lot of people with confidence, but ultimately there is also no hard or fast rule that if you use lethal force in self-defense that you will go to prison. Ultimately, there's no difference to whether or not you shoot an attacker and they die, or you stab them and they die, or you run them over with your car while they're trying to shoot and kill you and they die, or you do a myriad of other things to them in order to stop the attack and they die. The concept of proportional force does not mean that if someone comes at you with a knife, you have to defend yourself with a knife. It also doesn't mean if they come at you bare hands or with a broken bottle, you have to find an equivalent weapon. That is not proportional force. Disproportional force would mean that if you've already neutralized the threat and the person is no longer attacking you or no longer presenting a threat, if you then continue the defense by shooting them, then you are exceeding the boundaries of private defense, in essence. There is again nuance to this, and this is a legal discussion to have, but I'm trying to illustrate that there's no hard or fast rule that you will go to prison for shooting someone in self-defense. That is also a lie. Last one, hollow points are illegal. No, they're not. The police can't carry hollow points, but not because they are prohibited for some rational reason from carrying them. And unfortunately, because the cops can't carry them, people think civilians can't carry them. That's why we sell them in gun shops to people, because they're super expensive range ammunition. No, that's not how that works. The police also can't carry them because they can only use or fire in their service weapons what the police service issues them. And at this stage, the South African Police Service only issues full metal jacket ammunition. If for some bizarre reason, or not bizarre, for some rational reason, the South African Police Service decided to issue their officers with hollow point ammunition, then guess what? They will be shooting hollow point ammunition as opposed to full metal jacket. Benefits of hollow point ammunition is they don't over penetrate. This is why law enforcement in the United States uses hollow point ammunition, because if they end up in a shooting, defensive or otherwise, or during an arrest, there is a much lower risk of the bullet over penetrating whom they're shooting at and then striking and injuring or killing an innocent bystander or causing damage to someone they don't intend to cause damage to. That is the long and the short of it. These were a quick dissection of some prevalent undying myths. I hope you found this interesting, and we will continue with some more of these. If you'd like me to unpack stuff, let me know in the comment section, please. And the Zapper and Snap scan will go up in the credits. And if you like what we're talking about and like what we do, please feel free to contribute something to Paratus. We will see you again shortly. Have a fantastic rest of your day.